Good evening, VV Nation, and welcome to the channel. My name is Glenn, Senior Stock Market Strategist for VectorVest. Glad to be here, and it's all about the Magnificent Seven. What are the Magnificent Seven? Is it still worth it? Which of the Magnificent Seven would you get in? Is it too late? All of these questions, because the Magnificent Seven have made a lot of people a lot of money. Is it too late, given what's going on in the market, the anticipation of an election, the anticipation of more rate cuts? Is it still worth getting into Magnificent Seven stocks? And we're going to cover Magnificent Seven every way we can to give you if it's still worth it, and if so, which ones are the best ones to get into. All right, with that being said, let's get into, I've got a portfolio from the first trading day of the year all the way up until right now. Magnificent Seven stocks are up 46.3%. Here's the equity curve. The highest the portfolio was almost at 50%, at like 49.98. It's pulled off a little bit, but really close to where it was back in July 10th of 2024. 46%. If you would have just bought and held on to the Magnificent Seven, big dip right here. Holy smokes. Went all the way down to 1.6%, but very quickly reversed because the AI space, the whole magnificent tech space is hot. But the hottest stock in the list, of course, is NVIDIA. NVIDIA is the hottest stock on the planet since the first trading day of the year, up 196%. Good googly moogly, followed by Meta up 66, Amazon up 26, Apple up 26, Google up 18, Microsoft up 15, and Tesla has been the laggard. Who would have thunk that? Who would have thunk that Tesla would have been at the bottom of the list in negative territory when it comes down to Magnificent Seven stocks? Notice that there's no sell recommendations in the list. They're still either all buys or holds. I actually am going to sort this list by earnings date because the earnings are going to make a big move, could make a big move on these stocks, with the first one coming up tomorrow. Tesla earnings coming out, followed by Google and then by Meta. It looks like Meta and Microsoft both report earnings on the 30th. Amazon and Apple both report earnings on the 31st, and NVIDIA is on 11/20. All right, so it's important to know that as I look at these stocks, earnings could play a big role on whether or not, if you're in them, what you should do, or if you're thinking about getting into them, what you should do. Now, the first thing, so here's the list of the stocks. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up some news on all of them. All right, I'm going to pull up some news on all of them, and let's take a look. And then we're going to put some VectorVest behind it. NVIDIA, looking at summaries, analysts buy 3.76%, Wall Street 4%. 3.49% are on hold. NVIDIA is cruising. Why it should dominate the AI phase 2. NVIDIA latest Blackwell developments support one-stop AI shop scenario. Here's one on a hold. The extraordinary growth should slow down despite Blackwell. I don't agree with that. All right, so I wanted to look at some news. This stock is up for the year, 1 year, 232%. Let's go over to Meta. Meta for the year is up 84%. We'll scroll over. Meta, another earnings beat could rapidly change the sentiment. Notice I'm just looking at headlines, not diving into the stories. Today, Meta resumes facial recognition tech, which is going to be big, this time to prevent celeb bait ads. All right, here's a hold story. Meta Platforms, it is not time to jump on the AI hype train. Evidently, this person is not an AI believer. I am. So again, I don't mind looking at the stories, whether good, bad, or indifferent. I just want to get a feel of what's going on. All right, let's move over to Amazon, up 49% over the year. Amazon strong through quarter three may fail to keep the stock soaring. 3 reasons dividend investors should buy Amazon with both hands. Cheaper than you think. All right, so a lot of stories here that are strong buys as far as headlines. Let's go to the next stock, Apple. Apple is up 35%. Over a year. Taking stock of Apple is earnings near. Okay, Apple, why it is the one of the best businesses in the world. Ooh, agree. Apple near-term setup seen is challenging going into earnings. Apple's iPhone purchases by Russian government grow despite security concerns, reports. All right. So there's some news driving Apple as well. Going to Alphabet, up 20% for the year. Google, Q3 2024 preview, relative bargain, consider buying. Looking at arguments for strong Q3 results. Here's a hold story. Waymo is too small to move the needle. Ooh, that's for the auto bus, whatever it is, the self-driving stuff. Interesting. All right, let's go to the next one. Microsoft up 29% for the year. Here's a bearish story. Over 80% of AI projects fail. Microsoft is vulnerable. Ooh. Microsoft, 3 reasons it's cheaper than it appears. Buying MSFO. Microsoft, it's time to look elsewhere. Rating downgrade. Again, I don't mind the stories because we're going to put VectorVest behind it. And the last one is Tesla. Tesla shift from the land of Oz to reality. I don't think that Tesla's going to do well at earnings. We'll see. I may just get proven wrong and they blow earnings out the water. I don't see it happening. Tesla, Elon Musk disappoints again. The biggest thing was the robo-taxi display was horrible. But you know something? It is up 1.84%. All right, so there's all of the stocks in the Magnificent Seven. We saw what they did year over year. We just wanted to get a little bit of news headlines out there, whether good, bad, or indifferent. All right, now, as we get back into the software, let's throw some VectorVest behind it. Remember, I already told you that none of these stocks are sells. Let's go graph all of these stocks, and I'm going to graph them for the long term. You guys know what my 3 go-to graphs are: the MPI, or the near perfect indicator, my 3 and 8, and also Star Search. But for the purposes of, is the Magnificent Seven still a viable way to go, I am going to look at these from a longer-term perspective on a 1-year graph using the near-perfect indicator. I'm going to right-click. I'm going to view the stock graph, and let's pull them up. Let's go look at these stocks on a 1-year graph. Couple of things. One, let's go look at value. Are these stocks under or overvalued? We'll look at that real quick. Well, Tesla's way overvalued. All right, let's start there. Reason why we're starting here is because this is the first one that's going to be reporting earnings. And I'm not feeling Tesla in any way, shape, form, or fashion. Downtrend, they did move for a little bit, excuse me, after breaking down through the downtrend, moving up. Recently fell through that trend line, fell through a support line from the near perfect indicator. If you were giving it the benefit of the doubt, no longer has trend. Look at the bottom. We've got no trigger as well. Tesla, I don't think it's one of the Magnificent Seven that's so magnificent. It's less magnifico. Okay, let's go to the next one. As we look at Google, man, Google's had a hard time of it as well. Now, Google's been getting into the AI space from an energy perspective. They're trying to make moves, but they've come off this high. There's no trend. If I'm a little bit more aggressive, I do have trigger, but I'm not feeling price action on Google right now. Looking at the current price at a level of resistance sitting at about 170.21. It's got to get through that in order for me to think about jumping on board this Magnificent Seven stock. Currently, it's in a channel. Now, here's some Meta, baby. Looking at the near perfect indicator, we have trend. We are starting to lose the opportunity for trigger, but the stock is not too far off of a 1-year high. It is pulling back. If you are in it, I'm going to give you a hard stop at about 543.55. If I'm not in it, I'd like to see it moving up. I don't dislike it, but I'm not feeling it by way of price action. If I extend this trend line going up, I'm still a little bit above the trend line. Look at that, connecting all these lows. I'm still a little bit above the trend line, so I've got some opportunity if I still own it to still be okay, but I'd be a little wary right now. Let's go to the next one. Microsoft on a new little uptrend going on here. Here was a trend line, broke through. Now a new trend line. We don't have, from a long-term perspective, we don't have trend right now. We do have an early trigger right here, but I have a little trend, but no overall trend by way of the near perfect indicator. Back here we did. But we don't have it right now. I'd be a little worried about that one as well. Amazon. bottom left, top right, trend line, broke it, new trend line. I need it to break above this level of resistance of 195.28. And then it's got another high here back in July of 2024, but a nice little trend going up right now. I'd really like to see it break above that level of resistance. Would I be mad at you if you took it now? No, because it is trending higher, but you're going to get headwinds at this 195.28. Let's go to the next one, Apple. Apple's coming right off one-year highs right now. Man, it does have trend. So Apple, out of all of these stocks, does have a discernible trend by way of the near perfect indicator. I got an early trigger point right here, but it is sitting in the channel. If I'm not in it, I'm looking for it to go above 237.32 before I pull the trigger. If I'm in it, I do like this trend. There's no ifs, ands, or but coming off of right here. Look at that. That's a beautiful upward trend, a little pullback each time to the trend line. If I'm not in it, though, I'm looking to get above 237.32. All right, let's go to the next one. Looking at NVIDIA, the hottest stock on the planet, baby. Just hit a new high today, even though it's a down day. Look at that. We got trigger. We've got trend. We've had trend for the majority of the year. Now, if I'm looking at the Magnificent Seven, is it still magnificent? Yes. But given that we're getting close to earnings on all of these stocks, number one, we're also getting close to an election coming up in 2 weeks from today. Number two, I am not super magnificent on the Magnificent Seven. I've shown you some stocks in the Magnificent Seven that do catch my attention. To the upside, also the ones that I wouldn't touch right now. Magnificent Seven have done great all year, 46% overall from the first trading day of the year into right now. But look at that, equity curve still looks good. Everything looks great. But the reality behind it is that the Magnificent Seven, going into a time of ambiguity because of the Fed, because of the elections, because of earnings, I would be very careful with the Magnificent Seven. It's great to show that they've done well over the years, over this year. But I'm telling you right now, with all of those three things that I mentioned, I'd be careful with the Magnificent Seven until some of those things come to fruition, and we will continue to monitor these. But you know, on my live streams, I do have this portfolio. I track this portfolio, and we'll go from there. But these stocks have done well. Do I buy them now? There's a couple I'd have my eyes on. But that's where I stand right now. The Magnificent Seven is not as magnificent as everybody else would think it is, even though you look at the equity curve. Just be careful. Folks, this video is over. And until the next time, see ya.